Greetings, boys and girls, children of all ages. Dragon Culture Media proudly brings to you episode 2 of the Command Center. And today, and moving forward, my partner in crime is Makara, aka Mac. Makara, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm happy to be back for episode 2. And today, it might start out a little solemn, but then we're going to get into some more fun topics. We're going to talk about what we, our most fondest memories of Jason David Frank. And then we're going to talk some Avengers Doomsday and go from there. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All righty. So, Makar, why don't you tell me your first memories of Jason as Tommy?
Well, obviously, when you're a kid and you first see the green suit, you're like, oh no, it's the bad guy. But then you realize there's a lot more to it. But like when you're a kid, you're a little impressionable. But then I remember going into the White Ranger when they broke the Rita's spell, and then he definitely went from just a villain to an ally, and then all the way to being a mentor himself after everything. And he continued on being a mentor until even when he left and then came back, he was still mentoring. And he even had, like when Trent from Dino Thunder was kind of going through the same thing he was, Tommy was basically found a kindred spirit in him. So it was like he was able to use that to help Trent. So
yeah,
my fondest memories of him playing Tommy Oliver was going from sad, used villain to ally to mentor.
I think for me, that was what most, for whatever reason, drawed me the most, even at a young age, to him was you saw that internal struggle, the guilt that he held all through the first season for his actions. And you also saw him putting on the strong face for the rest of the team. But when it was just him and Alpha or just him and Zordon, you really saw the emotion come out and the guilt come out from either not being able to help his team or remembering the things that he did when he was under Rita's control. And they really found a way to, even as corny as the show was at times, they really found a way to capture the bleeding heart of Tommy Oliver and how he had a true conscience. And I think a lot of the guilt he felt from his time as the evil Green Ranger is what led him to become such a powerful mentor later on in other seasons.
Agreed.
At least that's how I always looked at it. And then when Boom Studios took a twist on it and came up with, you know, my namesake, the Lord Draken character, for me, it was kind of like a revitalization of the character. Like, even it was a different universe, and it was like all multiverse and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They managed to capture the magic again, you know, with the Shattered Grid story. You know, they went with the full evil Tommy route. Now, a lot of people didn't like the Beyond the Grid story, but then they kind of merged back into the internal struggle with Draken having that internal struggle. This time it was more so him fighting becoming good and wanting to remain evil, which I thought was an interesting twist.
Yeah, it truly was. I don't know if you read the. Did you ever read the Dragon comics?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you did all that, because I know about it like from like art and stuff, but I haven't actually
Right.
read the comics.
I mean,
I did.
I fell off with Beyond the Grid. Like, I read all of Shattered Grid, and I really liked Shattered Grid. But I fell off and only like got certain issues once like Beyond the Grid started. But like, if it's Shattered Grid specific, I'm pretty proficient on that.
Yeah. So how did you like the characters in the comics? Like, were they just as good as they were in the show, or? They
were different. So like, Go-Go Power Rangers was a hard read for me. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, I was into more. And then when they started merging them, and it focused more on Lord Draken and the Coinless and all that I was really intrigued by. But you know, sticking on with remembering Jason, he was so much more than just Tommy Oliver. I mean, it's pretty much the character is what kept Power Rangers alive. But you know, he had his martial arts school. He had the Make-A-Wish that kids that, you know, he would go and see. The different charities that he would do. The amount of interviews I watched where he talked about how he would spend hours at conventions because he didn't want to leave anyone. You know, he wanted everyone that came to see him to get the chance to see him. And I always admired that. And when the news came that he passed, that was a gut punch for me. There was only one other celebrity, if you can call him that I ever broke down over. And that was Eddie Guerrero, the professional wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Him and JDF are the only two celebrities that I ever cried over. I mean, Robin Williams hurt, but I didn't like, I bawled my eyes out over JDF. And
yeah,
I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, what is wrong with me? And it was more so, as messed up as it may seem, for me, it may have been that I felt like a part of my childhood had just died when he did.
I think a lot of fans felt that way, me included. It was yeah, like you said, it was a childhood figure we all grew up with. I mean, I mean, he did so much. It wasn't just his, like you said, it wasn't just his work we were familiar with. It was just his presence in general. And
Mhm.
there were other really popular Power Rangers, but I mean, it's JDF, so he takes the top, you know.
Well, and the thing is,
And
they
he,
would all say that too. Like there really isn't anyone that would disagree with that. Even when he had his behind the scene issues with some of his co-stars, they'll all sit they'll all sit there or stand there or whatever and tell you, yeah, JDF's the reason that the show lasted as long as it did. Um, Even when you had seasons like Power Rangers in Space, or even as some people feel RPM, that had great stories, the fans
yeah,
were always it was always in the back of fans' minds.
well,
Are we
that's
going to
what
get to see Tommy again?
well, that's why Dino Thunder was so good because it brought back Tommy as the Brachio Ranger, the Black Ranger,
Mhm.
and so he had moments, and then you had a few of his Ranger cameo ensemble cameos that really just brought the fans together for those specific moments in time. I mean,
Right,
yes, you had the cameos with when they had Overdrive wasn't my favorite, but when they brought in Kira and Tori and Adam and Xander and
right,
Bridge, I was like, oh yeah, that was so cool. But it's like it doesn't. I like Johnny Young Bosch. He's one of my favorite, Black Rangers. But he also, because he was the Green Ranger too. But he also like JDF had a presence. Like he made fans like want to come and just watch the show just to reminisce
right,
and just to enjoy his martial arts moves. Because even in the movie, there's moments where you actually get to see his martial arts moves, not just because he's not. It's not just the stunt and it's not the Super Sentai and all that stuff. It's him being him out of the suit. And so it's just him doing his skills. And I'm rambling.
Well, showing my age here, but I feel like when I was in junior high, going on 20 years ago now, um, there was a stigma around Power Rangers. And even for little kids, it seemed like there was a stigma around it. Like people, for whatever reason, it was an embarrassment to tell people you liked Power Rangers. And then something happened, I want to say around 2015, 2016, and people just stopped caring if if if
Oh yeah.
if you had a problem with it or not,
You
you
were
know?
proud to be a nerd around that time.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's when maybe not so much the show, but the fandom like really exploded around that time.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's when conventions started exploding. Power Morphicon, which I think started in 2012, if I remember correctly. Um, I could be wrong on that, but I think it started in 2012. Um, and a lot of legacy rangers make a good portion of their money these days jumping from convention to convention.
Oh yeah. It's a real
So,
big thing for them. And
but
did you see the one Power Ranger movie and then he did a cameo with Amy Jo Johnson?
you talking about the 2017 movie?
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm. That that was really cool. I remember the documentary of the behind the scenes on that movie. They said that um, the writers of the movie originally wanted Tommy or Jason and Amy to be the parents of one of the Rangers, but the studio didn't want to do that for some reason. and studio never gave them a reason.
Yeah, they probably thought, oh, well, just we don't want fans of, we don't want them to overshadow the new guys. It's like probably, I don't know.
But
Which is,
I remember thinking, it was like, well, actually, that would have been kind of cool. Because, like if I was
yeah.
running Power Rangers, and I was rebooting it, like that's what I would do is I would bring in legacy Rangers to come in and play the roles as the parents of the new Rangers.
Well, that's kind of what they did with Billy and all them. And then they had Adam and Aisha in the background as they weren't in the Power Ranger suits, but they brought in Billy and Zach and Kat and Rocky.
Yeah, once and always, that, I don't know. Once and always, I remember cheesing, like just a big grin ear to ear the whole way the first watch through. And then the second watch through, it was harder to watch. And it was more so of, I think the first watch through, I was just happy to see them on screen again,
Yeah,
in those roles.
I did not care for the modernness of it, I guess. It didn't work with the time it was in, just because I'm so used to the older classic cheese when I was a kid. But also, it's the mix of them with the new Trini, her daughter.
Right.
I did not like that character at all. I felt like she was kind of irritating. And no offense to the actress, but the character was written in a very irritating way.
They wrote her as an entitled teenager.
I know, but it's just, it kind of doesn't work within. I liked like they say in the original, teenagers with attitude. I don't think they actually meant attitude, because those teenagers were very respectful. It's attitude and how they fought and how they defied the bad guys. It wasn't like full on snippy little entitled little brats. So it's like kind of taught kids, hey, let's, be respectful. You don't have to be
wrong. You're not wrong, but in the pilot episode, now granted it's just one episode, but they were pretty snippy to Zordon. They didn't tell them, they're like, no. Like at first they were like, no, we're not doing this.
But it wasn't it wasn't throughout the show. They had some.
That's true.
But I don't know. It's just that the Yellow Ranger in the Forever and Always just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I think it's because I'm so avoidant of like these modern girl bosses that it kind of just, I don't enjoy that kind of writing for characters, especially for women, because it kind of shows young girls, hey, I can be a brat and get away with stuff, and then become a Power Ranger, a superhero. I don't like those types of characters. They do it in Marvel all the dang time.
I mean, I agree with you. I feel like a lot of the problem is they didn't use her more. They used her for the special, and that was it. I mean, they even brought Billy back for Cosmic Fury, and they could have brought Billy and Trini's daughter back.
Yeah, and Billy and Zach and Rocky and Kat, it was nice to have them together. Like, that's kind of what I wanted to watch. And yeah. I get they wanted to, remember Trini in a way, but I felt like that kind of was too not how I would have done it. Like,
like I said, that's where they messed up, is they put the focus on Trini's daughter, and so it had everyone assuming that they were going to use her more in the future, when if they had no plans on using her again, they should have put the focus on the veterans. So,
I mean, it was cool having them, but also I feel like the plot was very, very it was very like reminiscent of old past ones. It just, I don't know. I think because the main movie, even though it was set in a different universe, it's I think that one I really enjoyed more because it had a serious tone to it, but it was still campy, but it worked. It worked for me. So
It also still holds up weirdly
it
today.
does.
Like it has rewatchability,
The
whereas
action
Once
is
and
so much
Always really
better,
doesn't.
especially when you have like JDF and Johnny and Bosch doing their martial arts and everything. You got
Yeah.
you got Amy Jo doing her gymnastics. Everybody's flipping. You know,
Mhm.
it works because it's not just them. And it's not just them using the Japanese footage and everything.
Well, and you had the comedy in there too. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
know, you don't
yeah.
see Bulk and Skull in there a lot in the movie, but you've got the scene where Billy rides the skeleton, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like as scary as that kind of is, it was also hilarious.
Well, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like how the Megazord looks. It's like, compared to most CGI nowadays, that was like, to me, that looks awesome still.
Well,
So,
compared to CGI of the time, it was actually like when you compare it to a lot of other movies and stuff at the time, that was actually fairly not excellent, but halfway decent CGI for the
yeah,
time.
but like, it definitely, like, like, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. Give me a minute. Like, it definitely had the camp, but it also it had serious tones to it. Like, you could, especially like when you have Tommy and Kimberly talking before they're attacked by the birds. But
Right. Well,
uh,
I think that was a good discussion.
yeah.
Let's move on to the Green with Evil story arc. Now, if you can, tell me what you remember of that arc.
Mm, just kind of like, I remember like the shock of like the Rangers figuring out that it was Tommy, and especially Kimberly because she really liked him, and um,
Mm-hmm.
just it's kind of how Trent was. He's bad, and they're trying to say, well, you don't have to be this way, but also they're like considering maybe if they destroy him, it'll save everyone, because what if there's no saving him? We'd have to destroy him. And so they did have that conflict even in the kids show.
I
Yeah.
remember I remember it being such a shock because um, the Rangers really hadn't had too much adversity up to that point
Mm-hmm.
before he showed up, and all 5 episodes he just wiped the floor with them every time they faced him. Um, I remember being in complete shock when he gets into the Megazord and just beats him up in the Megazord, and I'm like, holy cow! So I remember the shock of that and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
and then now it happened kind of quick, but when they finally break Rita's spell over him by destroying the Sword of Darkness, I like you briefly see the struggle. You immediately see the guilt on his face, but then you see the other Rangers are they're like, hey, that wasn't you, and they're like, join us. You're a Ranger, be one of us. And don't know. I remember the feeling that I felt as a kid. That sense of belonging that I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily get to feel. And I think that's one of the reasons why at first Tommy was so compelling to people, because they related with the struggle. Maybe they did something, or maybe they experienced something that caused guilt in their life, and then they lived vicariously through Tommy, with his friends still accepting him regardless.
Yeah.
So
I also feel like people just really, really liked the green suit too.
that's true too.
Yeah. I mean, of course, aesthetically, it's very pleasing to the eye.
Green
And
and gold, money.
I mean, I do like the White Tiger one too. And he does really,
Yeah.
the black one was also one of my favorites too.
The white.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry. The White's his time as the White Ranger was hard for me, because the suit and the Zord were cool. It's not that they weren't cool. It was, I think, for me, he underwent a little bit of a personality change when he went from green to white.
Mm.
And I'm going back and watching older episodes, I notice it more when I watch the one with the Wizard of Deception, because the clone still has the old mannerisms, whereas Tommy has his new personality.
Well, I wonder if that's also contributing to the fact that he was under the influence of Rita, and when he finally made the change, maybe more of his lighter personality came out of the darkness, I guess you could say. He was embodying being a different version of himself, yeah, and it definitely translated to him being a leader after Jason left.
Absolutely. I think, just for me, and I'm only speaking for me personally, I think it's just he lost that bad boy vibe, like, that anti-hero vibe. He went from bad guy anti-hero to squeaky clean Superman golden boy type character. And so
Yeah.
he was still my favorite Ranger, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know that I liked him as much.
Yeah, well, it kind of did contrast with Adam, because Adam was usually the more quiet one,
Mm-hmm.
and Zach used to be more of loud, and outgoing, whereas Adam was usually a little more reserved, but he had moments
Yeah,
where he could be happy. But I think a lot of it is you really do need contrasting personalities just to keep it interesting, because you don't want everyone to be the same. So
yeah.
I don't know, but I didn't mind it as much. I guess I didn't really pay attention to that much when I was a kid, but it's like I remember it's like, oh, it's so cool he gets to come back, because you know.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, for me, is I was so young when I watched it
Mm-hmm.
that I have like bits and pieces of memories. So a lot of the things that I remember of the shows are from when I've rewatched it, as I got older, going back and rewatching older episodes. So, like, I remember the feelings that I felt when I first watched it, but then as far as like when I described the show in scenes, I'm remembering later rewatches.
Yeah. Sorry, I was
So,
checking. Checking on something.
Anything interesting in the chat or no? Okay.
No, we're good. Hey,
Well,
so
that's about 30 minutes. So now we can go into Avengers Doomsday. And I've got a lot to say on this because I watched a lot of things last night while I was working.
let's hear it.
And I got some opinions.
I
So
don't
first
think
off,
I don't think anyone's ready for my opinions, but
okay. So first off, I watched a few videos from Josh, Den of Nerds.
Mhm.
And he had some interesting takes, but one of the things that stuck with me was he was comparing and contrasting John Campia's takes with Robert Meyer Burnett to Chris Gore and Gary from Nerdrotics on the Nooner. And he was talking about how, in his words, he put it that Gary and Chris were being more negative, and Campia and R&B were being overly positive. And he was talking about how he thinks it's more in the middle. And I was like, okay, well, that's a decent take. But he was specifically talking about how he said that Gary was talking about how he's being told production was a mess. But then Campia was talking about how everything they're hearing is that the actual movie itself is going to be absolutely amazing. And he said he thought it was going to be both. That production is a mess. It's one of the most expensive films in Hollywood history. But you got so many cameos, and then the story is like over 180 pages long. Like the script is 180 pages long. That he thinks it's going to be a great story. And then, so I was like, I can see it probably being somewhere in the middle, but I don't see us really. It had me thinking that I think Disney is pitting creators against themselves, like against each other. I don't think anyone has the truth. I think everything, all the rumors, everything that's out there, I think it's all lies. And it's all being put out there on purpose by Disney so that no one knows what is actually going to happen. I think that's why Gary is getting the negative news and Campia is getting the positive news. And I think it's all to put the creators against each other.
I mean, honestly, I'm a little apathetic when it comes to anything from Marvel these days. I mean, even DC with James Gunn running everything. I don't care anymore. I'm more excited for Sunrise on the Reaping than I am anything coming from superheroes nowadays, because it's like I'm tired of good characters being ruined. I'm tired of the ensembles where it's like there's too many characters and it's like a lot of the actors just take me out of it. I mean, I want to be excited, I really did, but after Endgame, it's just like I'm ready for it to just be done and for them to do something different, because what they're doing, it's not working. It's not, because a lot of it's just creative bankruptcy at this point, and their comics and maybe a few successes here and there, or even just, but I don't hear anything remotely overly positive at all on the Marvel front. And I know it has some fans who are hopeful, but it's like I'm just, at this point, it's like it makes me more angry than it does, like, when people are coming in and ruining what made superheroes to me to invest my time and spend my watch hours, like, to make me care. And I feel like they lost that for me anyway. I know some people probably don't agree, or maybe they feel that way. But those are my opinions.
I mean, I don't blame you. I don't blame you for feeling that way. I not necessarily positive, but I have a more hopeful outlook on it. It's like I said in the chat, in someone's chat the other day, I want it to be good. I don't necessarily believe it will be, but I want it to be. I mean, we've got so many legacy characters coming back, and I am genuinely scared. But I used AI last night, and I had a discussion with it, and I took everything it said with a grain of salt.
Mhm.
But I noticed one thing. There's a number of people, not just Beardo, but there's a number of people theorizing that Doom is targeting the super children, of the MCU. And I think I mentioned this either last week or I was talking with Can Man and I mentioned it.
Yeah.
I noticed that everyone is forgetting about Tony's daughter, Morgan. And no one's really paying her much attention in all this. Now, granted, no, she doesn't have superpowers, but by the time Doomsday comes out, the character of Morgan is going to be around 14, 15 years old, which means she theoretically could don an iron suit.
Yeah, just like Pepper.
Mm-hmm. And then I started thinking, and I was like, if she was to appear in Doomsday, I don't necessarily think that she would don a suit, but I think she would be used as an emotional, like plot piece or whatever, because Josh talked about in some of the rumors, it's Doom loses his family due to an incursion that destroys his world. Now, the rumors are kind of a little too specific, but supposedly he has a son and a daughter that he loses, and that he's married to Sue Storm in his universe.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to thinking, okay, well, the first kid he goes after is Franklin Richards. And a lot of people are theorizing that Franklin Richards is a parallel of his son in some way. And I thought, well, what if Morgan is in some way a parallel of his daughter that he lost? And it got me thinking that, I mean, we could see Franklin and Morgan be plot devices that lead to Doom's downfall in Secret Wars.
Yeah.
So, and if Morgan was to put the suit on, I think it would be in Secret Wars. So,
yeah. What did you think of the Thor snippet?
Honestly, I was indifferent on it. I cared more about Steve Rogers and the X-Men than I did about the Thor one.
Yeah. I love the X-Men, but it's like if they were just doing a movie with just those X-Men characters and they had their iconic costumes, I would love that, but I don't like having them mixed in with all the Avengers and then bringing back legacy characters because they effed those guys up royally. It's like yeah.
I look at it this way. I am choosing to be optimistic more so
Mhm.
because not so much getting my hopes up, but just keeping an optimistic mindset. Because if it's bad, I'm not going to feel any one way or the other. I'm just going to be like, okay, it's dead. It's official now, you know.
Yeah.
But if it's enjoyable, I'm not going to say good. I'm going to say if it's enjoyable, then that's going to give me a little bit of hope. And the reason why I say that is because I don't know if I could say that No Way Home was good, but I enjoyed it.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot of people,
I actually
a
did
lot,
like No Way Home.
a lot of
That was,
people hated Multiverse of Madness, but I
right.
enjoyed it. And
I yeah.
all the criticisms that everyone said, I'm like, well, I can't disagree with that. But I had fun with it. So
Well, it's kind of like so I watched. I think after Endgame, I did watch No Way Home, and I did watch Multiverse of Madness, and I did watch what did I watch? I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then after that, I was like, I'm tapping out. Just I think I just became a little too like I was kind of ready to move on from superheroes at that point. Like my interest changed. I switched over to martial arts movies and more anime, and it's like I feel less disappointed by all that, you know.
right.
So
Well,
I don't know. If people are excited, I'm happy for them. I want them to have their excitement. I just I don't feel anything when it comes to that anymore. Other than maybe a little bit frustrated, but
right.
because I liked Bucky, I was excited to see what they would do with Bucky, and then all of a sudden, just I like I liked Falcon. I agree with it. He's a better Falcon, and he's not Captain America. I'm sorry, Steve Rogers is Captain America, and Falcon is Falcon, and
Oh, I agree.
it should have gone to Bucky.
Well, I mean, that's the way they wrote it. You know, they wrote it. It they wrote the movies. They kept building up. It was going to be Bucky, and then they just switched it to Sam.
Well, they did that to appease all of the loud, not really that loud, but people, the identity politics people that they can't ever just tell them, no, this is how it will work. It's like you have to
Right.
prioritize how the story will work in a way that people want. You see that all these people were so excited for plot A, but you shift over to plot B because you don't want to offend anybody's fifis, or you think that you have to, like, when you are placating all these people and trying to, it's like there's a small group of loud people on the internet. They don't really care about this stuff like the fans do, who invest all their time. They just want to be loud for the sake of being loud and to not
Right.
let anybody enjoy anything. So they get into our spaces, and they corrupt a lot of stuff that we love, and it seeps into everything. And I notice it. Like, I've noticed it for a long time. Like, I used to be a little bit of a normie when it came to stuff, but I was also a bit of a fan at the same time. And it's like I used to always get so excited for a new Avengers movie, and then all of a sudden that I noticed slight shifts, and even in Endgame, it's a little bit
Yeah.
there. I mean, if you're actively looking for it, yes, you see it a lot. But the fact is, you can see it.
Yeah.
I just can't turn away from it and I can't ignore it because it kind of is, for me, it's more on a writing standpoint than it necessarily is identity politics. It doesn't work from a writing standpoint. It doesn't work from a character development standpoint. How these characters change suddenly.
Right.
It, to me, as someone who does like to write characters, I they weren't appealing to me, and you know, if it doesn't appeal to me, then I'm not going to spend my time on it.
Right. Look, I don't blame you. It's like I said. I mean, all the criticisms that people say that I've heard, I can't disagree with them. I think that's why I said ultimately I choose to have a hopeful look on it, with the understanding that it's probably going to be dog shit.
I think maybe it'll be amazing, but the problem is that you have way too many characters to focus on, and it doesn't really work with like a full bloated cast, and it doesn't leave room while some characters get more development. The rest are all just background characters, and that's how Endgame felt. Was it exciting a little bit to see everyone like, oh hey, but that's all it is that it's just dangling keys. And these
I think a lot
I
of it
don't
has to
I
do
don't
with.
I don't think these writers are at all very talented. I'm sorry. I like a lot of the stuff they come out with, and currently just how the dialogue is. They're not talented writers at all. I can tell from movies when someone has talent and when someone does not. And it's like from the characters have to be, they don't have to be perfect, but they do have to have something that makes me connect with them. And right, I don't connect with these characters at all anymore because they put in a lot of stuff that it yeah, like I said, it just takes me out of it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, outside of the Russos, they did bring back some old writers, didn't they? For Doomsday.
Yeah, but I don't know how much of that is going to go through the movie and how much is going to be bogged down by the modern writers of today. Because I feel like they're just going to not. I feel like a lot of plot holes happen in these movies when you have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, that's one of the downsides of it being a big corporation. So
And if the editing is crap, then yeah, you will notice. Like that's how it was with all the reshoots with Captain American Falcon, whatever.
I only watched that movie because I just wanted to see Red Hulk. I mean, not even Harrison Ford. I just wanted to see the Red Hulk, And I thought, I was like, well, there's rumors Liv Tyler's going to be in, and it was like, maybe we get Red She-Hulk too. That'd be interesting. We didn't, but I walked out of that movie not being disappointed because I had no expectations.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a good thing, but I was just like, okay.
Indifference and apathy is kind of the last thing you want when going to see a movie.
So, but yeah, like I said, I had zero expectations for that movie. I just wanted to see Red Hulk.
Yeah.
So,
and I get there's like fans, but there's also like I get a lot of like random people that like to say, "Oh, you're just being negative." It's like, yeah, but you know what? I can live with that. I'm naturally cynical. Like I'm also very upbeat, but under the surface, I'm very cynical.
but it's not just being cynical for the sake of it. Like it's earned criticism. They
Exactly.
earned the criticism.
Exactly.
You know, it'd be one thing if every single one of these movies were billion-dollar films. They weren't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I mean, outside of No Way Home, I don't think I'm not even sure that Deadpool and Wolverine was profitable when you calculate in marketing and everything. Like the only one that I heard for sure that was profitable was Spider-Man No Way Home, and Marvel didn't see any of that because it goes to Sony.
Yeah. Hmm.
So I don't know. Like I said, all I can say is I want it to be good, and not for Marvel's sake. It's purely on a selfish
Oh yeah,
level.
it's for fans' sake. You know, you want fans to actually have something, and it's like there are movies that maybe aren't like big blockbuster hoopla, but they have creators and writers that don't bend the knee to all that stuff. And those movies are successful because of that and a lot of the fanfare around it. Like you have Five Nights at Freddy's. Were they perfect movies? No, but because the creators and even Terrifier, those creators were like, you know what? I am not going to bend the knee to these people, these crazy people that think that their opinions are more important than the actual people that are wanting to see this and pay for it. They can watch it, they don't have to, but a lot of it, this is for the people who grew up with these IPs. This is for
Right.
them. And this is for anybody who wants to enjoy it or criticize it. But at the same time, it's like they knew how they wanted to present their movie. And I think that worked because they put their foot down.
Right. There is no balance anymore, not just in Hollywood, pretty much anywhere. I mean, we've seen numerous times in Hollywood what it looks like when a director is given full reins and they do too much. But then we've also seen movies where the studio doesn't let the director do anything.
Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons why 1998 was such a big year for Hollywood is because when you look at the commonality, it wasn't genre, it wasn't box office, it was the directors had a healthy balance of what their like how they used their creativity, but the studios also gave them um, like a checklist. You know, it's not so much they
Mhm.
didn't hold their hand, but the studio gave them a checklist. They said, you know, stay within these parameters and go have fun.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that anymore. The studios aren't giving them parameters, and other than, you know, identity politics and all that stuff, but
Yeah.
they're not they're not.
They're micromanaging way too much.
Yeah, it's
Well,
just
yeah. Well, you know that like when you have like certain creators that say what you will about Avatar, whether you like it or not. I mean, I was watching a little bit of a video documentary of so they kind of broke it down with like a few superhero movies and then the world building of Avatar and how I'm just talking about visuals. I'm not talking about the story.
right,
I mean, the reason why you have like Aquaman and the way the underwater scenes look, they don't the color grading and also the way that they move in the water, it's not realistic. It doesn't pull you into it. Whereas you have James Cameron who filmed underwater, so it felt like you were actually in the environment rather
right,
than and it's like a lot of movies these days they rush on the conveyor belt of production. They don't take their time. They rush the VFX. And it's like, I think that's why I'm more prone to like motion capture. And not all motion capture is perfect, but then you have like, you go into more practical effects, and not all practical effects are perfect. I've seen my fair share of, little puppet, but or in animatronics. But I think practical effects work too because you're actually giving the actors something to look at, something to interact with, and it feels more realistic. Whereas if you have just a sound stage, like especially in Little Mermaid 2 with the water, it's like she was on a soundstage with wires. Same with Aquaman, soundstage with wires. Avatar, they're in a tank, they're in a pool, they're swimming, they're the water actually creates resistance, so it feels like they're actually swimming. It's not just
Right.
going. "Woo."
Well, the thing is, if the actor doesn't believe it, the viewer's not going to believe it.
Yeah,
And on one hand, I get why studios focus on CGI and sound stages so much, because they say it's cost effective. But we're getting to the point now with the economy and everything where I'm seeing reports that practical effects are cheaper than sound stages.
they are. It's like the VFX are so expensive. These people just have no creativity. They take the lazy option every time because they have no work ethic. They can't create anything, and most of the costumes are really sucky. You have Frankenstein where everything was prosthetics, and a lot of it was like they had like 42 prosthetics, and he
Wow.
had to spend hours in makeup. And you know what? That it pulled you into that because it's like, oh hey, you know what? It's nice not seeing a weird CGI monstrosity. Like like visual effects, like they should at least maybe enhance the movie a little bit. But if you're really creative and you know how to do it, you can create not lighting that looks really cool. You can create special effects. It's like take the time to actually make something, not just, it all looks like people rely too much on AI and less on getting into the actual filmmaking process. So
Right.
I think that's also why it's like I love martial arts movies for that reason because a lot of these actors, these stunt people, and even just the actors themselves are real art. They're real martial arts and fighters. You got Scott Adkins and Marco Zaror. You got all these people that know what they're doing, and they take brutal hits even though they learn how to like. Whoop. So they use real blood. I mean, it's not real blood, but it's fake blood. But they know how to get the perfect shot. They
Real
everything,
liquid.
yeah, everything is realistic. So it's like even with Walking Dead, everything is practical, but the sound of the zombies and the sound of but the extras are actually eating ham with red barbecue sauce. I think I read that's what they did to make it look a little more realistic. The only time they used like special effects was like maybe to enhance the zombies a little bit and to increase the horde, but a
Right.
lot of it was all practical, and I think that's why the world immersions worked. And with Marvel, they kind of like do the artificial, just it's like artificial sweetener versus actual like natural sweetness, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think we had some great discussions today.
Yeah.
We are coming up on the hour mark. Makara, I thank you for joining me today. You got anything coming up?
A stream with Brimstone and Wasp later this evening. We're gonna be discussing Shipwrecked. So,
Okay.
mm,
Well, look forward to seeing that. And ladies and gentlemen, that's one in the books. We'll be back next week. I may drop it back an hour next week, so that we're not streaming over Jay and I think that'll have us starting right when J ends and ending right when Daily starts.
Yeah.
So
That works.
I think that should work better next week. So that would be 10 a.m. Eastern, and I believe what that'd be 8 a.m. your time or 9 a.m. your time. I'm like Gary. I don't the
I don't do time
time
zones
zones.
either.
Yeah.
It's too early to think.
But
Yeah.
if you're watching us, just mark it back an hour for next week.
Yeah, that works.
But the chat was dead today. That's okay. Those who are here today, I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.